What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, today we're going to be talking about some data mined information that has just come out about Battlefield 2042. Obviously, from Temporal. If anybody doesn't know this man, he's always on Twitter posting up all the data mined information that he gets about the whole franchise. He's definitely a goat over there. But, very quickly, I do want to go ahead and talk about this topic that DICE asked us over on Twitter. They are very curious if we do enjoy them removing 1942 maps from Flashback Conquest. And I'm going to be honest, it is kind of nice because some of them aren't outstanding, but I do miss 110% Battle of the Bulge. I think this map is phenomenal, even though it has some very open territories, and it is pretty heavily vehicle-based. But at the end of the day, in that little town square section, it is just phenomenal. Now, again, I haven't played 1942 back in the day. This is probably my first experience with some of these maps, but my god, it's just, the infantry gameplay in that one section of the map is so freaking good. And to be honest with you guys, I completely miss it. So, if you even consider to bring back one map into Flashback Conquest, I would say it should be Battle of the Bulge. But enough with all that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the actual topic of today's video. Now, like I said, there has been tons of new information that has been data mined by Temporal, and I gotta be honest with you guys, every single time new information is data mined, it makes me extremely sad about the state of 2042, because we see all of this official, actual content in the game, and we didn't get any of this stuff at day one. It's incredibly disappointing, and obviously, it's not DICE's fault. It's all EA. EA is rushing out these products at such an incredible rate. It's just mind-boggling. It makes no logical sense. If they gave this game even a year extra worth of time, it would be in such an incredible spot compared to what it is current date. We're all saying this 4.0 update that just released with 400 plus bug fixes, this is how the game should have released at launch. But if they had the extra time, the extra year to go ahead and get more progress done, it would have been those 400 plus bug fixes and more. It would have been a much more playable experience. I mean, just look at Halo Infinite. Even though it lacks tons of content and stuff like that, that's only because they took the free-to-play approach, which is just horrifying. I never want to see another game take that approach ever again. But Halo Infinite got a year extra time, and look how that game is turning out. No bugs, barely any glitches, the servers are actually running pretty nicely. Their main problem is the lack of support when it comes to content. It gets really repetitive, and the replayability factor of the game is kind of non-existent. But the year extra worth of time truly put the game in a lot more stable of a spot compared to all these other games like Vanguard or Battlefield 2042, which you obviously know, both run by Activision and EA, very scummy corporations, will gladly push out these games despite the state that they're in. But I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't supposed to be a rant video. Like I said, every single time I see new content, it disappoints me in ways that I can't even express, that we don't have this stuff in our hands right now. But let's get on with it. Basically, Temporal has found, while data mining, a boat variant when it comes to vehicles that you can use in this game. Now, obviously, as we all know, there's pretty much no maps in this game that's going to support any boats. Yes, there is certain spots on certain maps, like Manifest, where there is some water on the outskirts, but it's not very viable, and it's not really a centerpiece of the battle. So what this makes me think of when I see a boat coming into the game, it makes me think that the future is finally going to hold for some naval combat, something that's very iconic to a game that's supposed to be modern day or near futuristic. You know, Battlefield 4 was phenomenal just specifically because of that main point. I mean, even in the advertisements and the trailers, they made it such a priority to let you know that you can go into the water and dive underwater and do all of these maneuvers. It was such a, quote-unquote innovation for the Battlefield franchise. But over the years, it seems like they're starting to step down bit by bit. You know, Battlefield 1, it took a little bit, but during DLCs, we started to see a little bit more naval action, which was actually, I'm going to be honest, extremely cool. We had some behemoths, which were just absolute units of naval crafts that were just, beasting on everybody, and we had different types of boats and stuff like that. It was some cool variety. Battlefield 5 came out, again, took a long time. I don't even remember any naval action in that game besides the Pacific update, which took a full year to even get to. You get the point that I'm trying to make here. When it comes to naval combat, it takes a little bit for a Battlefield game to obtain it, and it seems like finally the future is looking a little bit more bright for those fans of that type of action, that we will be seeing something introduced later on that will involve that type of combat. I'm actually quite excited for this because I think it'll add some more variety to the game. Naval combat is just, like I said, it's iconic, and that's something that I love about Battlefield 4. All the variety in that game. You can go anywhere from a city to an absolute open forest, all the way over to just simply naval action, and that's what adds the variety. And Battlefield 2042 desperately needs variety, and naval action will do that for you. Now, what's even more interesting is this extra bit of information that Temporal has put out for us on the brand new DLC map that's supposed to be coming out with Season 1, and it's called Exposure. Now, apparently, the background scene that we see every single time that you load up Battlefield 2042, that mountain scenery in the background, we are now expecting that is part of the exposure map, as you can see right here. But on this map, you can see there's two different bodies of water, and one of them is actually labeled a lake, which means it's probably going to be a primary point of action, and this boat would definitely be something that you would probably use to cross this body of water here to get from point A to point B. So in my personal opinion, even though this boat is data mined, I believe that it's going to 110% come into this game just simply because of the new map that we're going to be getting within Season 1, and even though it's not going to be a naval map, it's just a lake that you could probably, drive across with the boat, at the end of the day, with this boat finally being introduced into the game, the possibilities are now endless. They can just go ahead and make an absolute wide ocean of only boats and only naval action, and they could easily do that, and it would work now because they have equipment in the game that could work for that. But despite all this positive news about new vehicles, new maps, new equipment, new weapons, new everything coming within Season 1, I still can't help but think, what would this game would have been if DICE had more time? Yes, Battlefield 2042 has a fair share of issues that just will not be cured unless it's completely changed. Things like Specialist not being the traditional class system and other things of that sort really pissed off the Battlefield community. But one of the main factors besides those issues that people just won't play this game for is the fact that there's nothing to grind for. All you can grind is your level at this point. There's a bare minimum of weapons, there's a bare minimum of maps, there's a bare minimum of Specialists, and there's a bare minimum of vehicles. There's nothing to mess around with, nothing to explore, and nothing to play with. Yes, it's a fair share of only in Battlefield moments that could be done in Battlefield 2042, but imagine the potential and all the only in Battlefield moments that could be done if we had 2 to 3 times the amount of content that we currently have at day 1. It's all because of live service. And I don't think this is anything new for anybody. I'm pretty positive everybody knows this as well. Live service is just a toxic cancer of the gaming community that will continuously ruin our favorite franchises unless we remove it from the overall environment. Now, of course, live service could be done correctly in certain ways. I gotta say, Vanguard, despite all of its horrifying problems and things that it did to the franchise, at the end of the day, it still handled live service pretty well. It had a ton of maps at launch. We're getting consistent seasonal content, and even though Season 3 is very low on content, we still got a decent amount of content within the first 2 seasons that came out. The game is being handled correctly when it comes to what we can play with, and people have a reason to return back to it. Obviously, if you don't like the game, you won't return back to it, but any fan of Vanguard, if you enjoy the game, if it's something that you love, you are constantly being rewarded with new things to grind for, and that's all we want out of a live service title. But some of these companies are still slacking. Halo's slacking, Battlefield's slacking. Maybe one day they can get up to the standards of what Vanguard pushed out for live service, and hopefully Call of Duty keeps those standards, because God forbid they go back to how Modern Warfare, Black Ops Cold War was, where there was only like 8 maps at launch and we had to wait a full year just to get a normal amount of content. Then, we're going back to the horrible ways of live service. But if Vanguard could start the trend of how live service should be handled, then possibly we can see something coming in the future. But Battlefield 2042 is already screwed over by it. There's nothing that could save it. It's already delayed. The content plan is already completely planned out for it. We are stuck with what we have to deal with. And like I said in the very beginning of the video, when you're stuck in this situation and you see all this data mined information of things that are actually in the game, like that boat, for example, and here's another one right here, the KA-99 Hannibal, which is a helicopter that's supposed to be coming into the game. And also, don't forget about this one as well. This was actually data mined a long time ago, the RA-68 Shoshone, I believe is how you pronounce it. My goodness, I probably butchered it. I hope I didn't disappoint any, very hardcore, fans of these type of vehicles out there. But you get the point that I'm trying to say here. There are tons of vehicles and weapons and all of these different things in the files of this title, and we didn't get any of them at launch. This game was $60+ and they're holding back all the content from us. Battlefield 4 released at the same exact price tag, and forget about all the DLC, because yes, back then it wasn't live service. You didn't get a bunch of free maps and stuff like that. You had to pay for all of that. But even without the DLC, I could still play Battlefield 4 10 times longer than Battlefield 2042 on the base amount of content in that title. There were still tons of weapons to play with. All the maps were so replayable and all so freaking unique in their own way that I always was obsessed with playing them. And there were so many attachments to grind between. Each class had their own thing that you wanted to grind towards and try new things out. Battlefield 4 is endless fun, and the DLC maps only add on top of that, and people were encouraged to buy the DLC maps because they were already pleased and happy with the initial $60 they spent on the game. So everything after that is only bonuses. It's only going to get better. So yeah, take my $20 for a few more DLC maps. I will gladly play that as long as the core game is worth the initial money. Hopefully for the next Battlefield game, they don't fall into this loop, because I swear to God, if they pull the same thing as Battlefield 2042, it will be a wrap. And it doesn't matter about the atmosphere of the game. They can make the best Battlefield game ever. If they treat the content how they're treating it with Battlefield 2042, and how they treated it in Battlefield 5, and how they treated it with Battlefield 1. Don't get me wrong, this didn't just start with Battlefield 2042. This has been going on for a long time in the Battlefield franchise. If they keep this trend up, people will just simply leave because they don't know how to produce a good $6 title anymore. Like I said, fundamentally, it could be phenomenal. But look at Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite was probably one of the best released games out of 2021. And you see where it's at now? It's pretty much dying. It's already dead, basically, because they aren't supporting it with content. A game that plays 10 times better than all the other AAA shooters out there that released in the same time period. Yet it's dying faster because it couldn't keep up with the content that the others were pushing out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Thank you all so much for tuning in this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like button. If you hated it, leave a dislike. Also, if you're brand new, enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button. Also, want to chat with me, there's two ways to do so. I have Twitter and Discord, both linked down in the description. And also, want to catch me live streams of video games, do it over on Twitch. Link that's in the description as well. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. See you all next one. Peace out.